The story begins with a clever thief named Frank Morris. Police have arrested him in a bank robbery case, and now they are taking him to Alcatraz, the most secure prison in the world, for a life sentence. Alcatraz is built on a small island in the middle of the sea. Even if a prisoner breaks out of the building, he still cannot escape easily because the ocean surrounds the entire prison. That is why Alcatraz is known as a prison no one can break. Only the most dangerous criminals are kept here. But very soon, the reputation of this prison is going to be destroyed because Frank Morris has entered Alcatraz. Morris has already escaped from prison many times before, but this time, even he feels a little nervous because this prison is extremely secure. Still, Morris does not want to spend his whole life here. From the moment he enters the prison, he starts thinking about escape. The guards check Morris from head to toe and then lock him inside a cell. One guard looks at him and says, "Welcome to Alcatraz." From this moment, the real story begins. Suddenly, a bell rings and all cell doors open automatically. The officers order the prisoners to come out. The discipline in this prison is very strict. Every prisoner must follow rules, keep everything clean, and return to the cell on time. All prisoners wear the same uniform and come in line for breakfast. In front of Morris sits a prisoner named Litmus. Morris says he did not even get a fork, so how can he eat? Litmus tells him that this is not his house, and whatever he gets, he should eat quietly. At the same time, a dangerous prisoner named Wolf starts teasing Morris. Every prisoner in Alcatraz is tired of Wolf because he forces his power on everyone. He is one of the most feared inmates in the prison. During breakfast, Litmus asks Morris for some food. Morris gives him his plate. But when Morris looks under the table, he sees that Litmus is not eating the food himself. He is feeding it to a small mouse. That night, a guard takes Morris to the warden. When Morris reaches the office, the warden tells him that he knows Morris is very sharp and intelligent. But in Alcatraz, intelligence is useless because many clever men have come here and none of them escaped. The warden explains the rules. A prisoner can receive a visitor only once every 2 months, and even that depends on the warden's mood. He warns Morris not to even think about escape. Otherwise, he will be broken into pieces. Morris calmly replies that with a warden like him, who would dare to think about escaping? But in reality, Morris has already started planning his escape from the first day. During this meeting, Morris secretly steals the warden's nail cutter. It is a very small thing, but Morris knows that inside a prison like Alcatraz, even a small nail cutter can become useful. When he returns to his cell, he hides it inside a Bible. The next day, Wolf again tries to harass Morris in the bathroom, but this time Morris does not stay quiet. He shows his real side and beats Wolf badly. After this fight, later Morris is given work in the library. There he meets a senior prisoner named English. English has spent half his life in Alcatraz and knows every corner of the prison. He was sentenced to life because of 2 murders. English already knows about Morris's fight with Wolf. He gives Morris some books and tells him to deliver them to different cells. In the yard, prisoners are playing different games. Morris meets an artist prisoner named Doc, who is painting his own picture. Doc is a simple and decent man who has been in prison for many years. Painting is the only thing that keeps him mentally alive in Alcatraz. Morris asks him why he painted a flower on the shirt when there is no flower on his real shirt. Doc says the flower is his happiness, and that happiness exists only in the painting, not inside him. Then Morris sees English sitting above. He goes toward him, but English's men stop him. English signals them to let Morris come. Morris sits beside him and directly says that he wants help escaping from Alcatraz. English laughs after hearing this. He says this place is not just a prison, it is their grave. If someone wants to leave from here, he must die first, and only then his body can go out to the cemetery. English says even if Morris climbs the walls, crosses the dangerous fences, somehow avoids hundreds of guards and reaches outside the prison, he still cannot escape because the sea will stop him. He tells Morris not to waste time and just serve his sentence alive. But Morris has already made up his mind. He will escape at any cost. That night, an officer tells Morris that from tomorrow he will work in carpentry. He will also be paid 50 cents an hour. Morris immediately agrees because he thinks he may find some tool there that can help him escape. The next day, Morris asks Litmus about a way out of the prison. Litmus jokingly tells him that every cell has an air vent, and maybe through it someone can reach the roof. He smiles and walks away. Doc warns Morris that Wolf is coming toward him. Wolf attacks Morris with a knife. Morris wraps his coat around his arm and fights him. When a guard tries to stop the fight, Wolf attacks the guard too. The situation becomes serious. A guard from the watchtower points his gun and prepares to shoot. Morris realizes that even the watchtower guard is watching everything. Morris and Wolf are taken to D Block, the dark punishment cells where prisoners are tortured in darkness. No prisoner wants to go there. Before being taken away, Wolf threatens Morris and says that Morris will die by his hands. Morris spends 2 weeks inside the dark cell and suffers badly. When he finally returns to his normal cell, Litmus sends him a note through his pet mouse. The note says, "Welcome back, Morris." One day, a new prisoner named Charlie arrives and is placed in the cell next to Morris. Morris and Charlie quickly become friends. At the same time, the warden starts checking prisoners' cells without warning. When he enters Doc's cell, he sees many paintings. Doc has even painted the warden. The warden smiles after seeing it, but for some unknown reason, the next day he orders the guards to throw all of Doc's paintings out. This breaks Doc completely. Those paintings were the only happiness left in his life. The next day, Morris sees Doc looking very disturbed. He tells a guard to keep an eye on Doc because he might hurt himself. The guard tells Morris to mind his own business. Doc is also given carpentry work with Morris. Then he calls a guard and uses the axe to cut off 3 of his own fingers. He says he does not need the fingers that are not allowed to paint. The guards take Doc away. Morris checks his pocket and finds the same flower that Doc had painted. Morris understands that Doc wanted to show that they had taken away his only happiness. Morris puts Doc's severed fingers in a small box and tells the guard to give them to the warden, because the warden will be very happy to see them. One day, Morris is sitting in his cell when he sees a cockroach entering the air vent. This makes him believe there must be a way out through that vent. English comes and tells him that Doc cut his fingers because the warden canceled his permission to paint. Morris becomes very angry. In the dining hall, the warden asks Morris why he is supporting Doc so much. Morris avoids the question and returns to his table. There he meets 2 brothers, John and Clarence. Morris talks to them as if he already knows them. Actually, John and Clarence were with Morris in another prison. Both brothers are sharp like him. Now the 3 of them start planning an escape together. Later, Charlie's girlfriend comes to visit him. At the same time, English's daughter comes to meet him. English becomes emotional because his daughter has grown up without him and he has missed her entire childhood. Charlie's girlfriend tells him that his mother is very sick and the doctors say she may not live longer than a few months. After hearing this, Charlie also starts thinking about escaping from Alcatraz. That night, he tells Morris that if Morris ever makes an escape plan, he wants to be included. The next day, Morris, Charlie, John, and Clarence meet. Morris explains that every cell has an air vent that leads upward. He also says the prison is surrounded by salty seawater, and because of this, the walls have become weak over time. Morris tells them he has a nail cutter and has already started digging around the vent. If they slowly dig through the wall and make a small tunnel, they can reach the top area and then inspect the escape route. John asks what will happen if the guards check at night and find that Morris is not in bed. Clarence says he has a solution. A barber he knows can collect real hair from prisoners. They can use that hair to make dummy heads and place them in their beds. If the guards look inside the cells at night, they will think the prisoners are sleeping. But the biggest problem remains the ocean. Even if they escape the building, how will they cross the water? Morris tells John that his job in the clothing department will help them. There are raincoats made for officers. John must steal some raincoats and bring them. Morris plans to use those raincoats to make a small tube boat and life jackets. Charlie asks for his job in the plan. Morris tells him that when Morris digs the vent, Charlie will keep watch. When Charlie digs, Morris will keep watch. Everyone likes the plan, and they start working that same night. But the nail cutter is too small. Morris has to use a lot of force, and digging the wall becomes very difficult. His hand gets injured, but he keeps digging slowly. At breakfast, Morris tells his friends that he needs a bigger tool. The nail cutter is not enough. While looking at a spoon in his hand, Morris gets an idea. He rubs the spoon on his shoe to make it dirty, then calls the guard and says the spoon is dirty and he needs another one. The others also ask to change their spoons. The guard does not suspect anything and allows it. When Morris goes to the table to exchange the spoon, John distracts the guard with conversation. Morris secretly takes 2 spoons and hides one in his pocket. That night, English comes to give him a book. Morris asks if welding equipment can be found in the prison. English understands that Morris is still obsessed with escape. He warns him again that the plan is impossible and that Morris may die. But Morris does not change his mind. The next day, Morris asks Litmus for matches. He promises that if Litmus helps him, he will give his share of food to Litmus's mouse every day. Litmus happily agrees. That night, Litmus passes matches to Morris. Morris removes part of the nail cutter handle. Then he breaks the spoon and attaches it to the nail cutter handle. With the match fire, he joins the pieces and creates a sharp digging tool. Now Morris starts digging around the vent properly. Charlie keeps watch. If any guard comes, Charlie must whistle to warn him. But while keeping watch, Charlie falls asleep. A guard comes close. Luckily, English distracts the guard at the right moment. Charlie wakes up but becomes too nervous to whistle, so he drops an object. Morris understands the signal, quickly covers the vent, and lies on his bed. The guard says he smells something burning. Morris calmly says that with the guard around, who would dare to smoke? The guard feels pleased and leaves. After he goes, Morris removes more concrete from around the vent, but then Morris sees that the vent grill has screws that need a sharp tool. Whenever Morris gets a chance to go outside, he secretly throws away the small pieces of concrete he has removed. The next day, while doing carpentry work, Morris steals a sharp piece of metal. Charlie asks how he will pass through the metal detector with it. Morris confidently says he will handle it. When Morris goes out, the metal detector starts ringing. He is holding one metal piece in his hand. The guard asks why he is taking it. Morris says he thought he could use it to hang clothes. The guard takes it from him and searches him. But Morris has actually stolen 2 metal pieces. One was in his hand, and the second one was hidden in his shoe. With the hidden metal, he cuts the grill. Now they need fake heads to fool the guards. Charlie asks the guard for paint, saying he wants to make art. The guard gives it to him. Morris crushes the concrete from the hole and turns it into powder. Morris creates a dummy head that looks almost real. He also makes fake cardboard covers so no one can see the tunnel in the wall. One night, Morris decides to go up alone. He places the dummy head on his bed and covers it with a blanket up to the neck. Then he takes the fake cardboard and escapes through the tunnel. Outside the cell, he climbs upward by holding the pipes. Charlie keeps watch. When Morris reaches the roof area, he sees another iron grill above. It is too high, and he cannot reach it even by jumping. Meanwhile, a guard comes and asks Charlie why he is painting so late at night and why Morris is sleeping so early. Charlie says Morris became tired after carpentry work. Suddenly, the guard's stick falls down. When he bends to pick it up, he notices Morris's hair looking strange on the bed. Charlie becomes terrified. The guard puts his hand through the cell bars and touches the hair. Just then, Morris speaks from inside and asks if his hair looks so beautiful. Luckily, Morris had returned in time and lay on the bed before the guard found out. The next day, Morris tells his partners that there is a path above, but it is blocked by a high iron grill. He needs another person to help. John says he has finished digging his vent and will go up that night. That night, Morris and John climb through their vents and reach the top area. John lifts Morris, and Morris reaches the grill. They see that the iron grill is very strong and completely welded. The only way to open it is cutting it with a drill. The next day, during music class, every prisoner plays a different instrument. Morris sees a small fan kept there. He gets the idea to turn it into a drill machine. He tells Charlie to hide the fan somehow. Charlie hides the fan inside his instrument box. The guards check the box but do not notice it. When the fan reaches Morris, he works on it for hours and finally turns it into a drill. That night, Morris and Charlie climb up and start cutting the iron bar with the drill. The drill makes a loud sound, and guards start coming toward the area. But before they arrive, Morris cuts one bar and stops the drill. When the sound stops, the guards ignore it and leave. Now all their escape routes are ready. The next day, they meet again in the movie hall while all prisoners are watching a film. Because of the movie sound, Morris can talk quietly. He asks John and Clarence if their vents are ready and what happened to the raincoats. They say everything is ready, including the dummy heads. Now they only need the right moment. The next morning at breakfast, Morris places Doc's flower on the table. The warden sees it, comes to the table, and crushes the flower. Litmus becomes furious because the flower belonged to Doc. Litmus attacks the warden in anger, but as Litmus moves toward the warden, he suddenly suffers a heart attack and collapses. Morris becomes even more angry at the warden. English comes to his cell with some books. Morris tells him he wants to shake his hand for the last time. English understands that Morris has finally made his escape plan. He silently leaves, but then something happens that Morris did not expect. The warden suddenly comes to check his cell, as if someone told him about the plan. Morris becomes very nervous because months of hard work could be destroyed in one moment. The warden orders the guards to check every corner of the cell. The guard checks everything, but Morris is not an ordinary prisoner. His plan is clean and perfect. Nothing is found because Morris has already covered the wall perfectly with fake cardboard. When they find nothing, the warden leaves. But one guard says Morris and Charlie keep talking all night and something seems wrong. The warden orders that Morris's cell be changed the next day so he and Charlie cannot talk anymore. At breakfast the next day, Wolf again threatens Morris and says tonight will be Morris's last night. Morris tells his friends that Wolf is right. Tonight really will be his last night here. Later, Wolf attacks Morris with a knife, but English steps in and stops him. English also wants to help Morris. That night, Morris, John, Clarence, and Charlie plan to leave through their vents and meet above. Charlie first agrees, but when he returns to his cell, fear takes over him. Sitting alone in the cell, he decides not to join the escape. Morris, John, and Clarence crawl through their vents and reach the roof area. They wait for Charlie for a long time, but when he does not come, they decide to leave without him. On the other side, Charlie watches his dream of freedom slipping away. The three men move slowly, hiding from the searchlights. They reach the end of the building. Then Charlie suddenly gathers courage and decides to escape too. He crawls through his vent and reaches the roof area. But now it is too late. Alone, he cannot reach the upper door. Meanwhile, Morris, John, and Clarence climb down from the roof using pipes. They avoid the tower guards and reach the final prison fence. One by one, they climb over the fence and get outside the prison. They run toward the shore. There, they take out the raincoats and start filling air into the homemade tube boat with their mouths. It takes time, but they have no other option. They keep blowing air with all their strength until the small boat is ready. Finally, they place the raincoat boat into the water and escape from Alcatraz, destroying the pride of the world's most secure prison. The next morning, a guard checks every cell. At first, everything looks normal. But when he reaches Charlie, he sees him standing in his cell like a ghost, regretting that he did not gather courage last night. The guard asks why Morris is still sleeping. He enters Morris's cell and calls him, but Morris does not respond. The guard gets angry and grabs him by the hair to pull him up, but the head comes off and falls down. The guard is shocked because Morris is not in the cell. Only the dummy head is left on the bed. Soon, alarms start ringing across Alcatraz. The whole prison learns that some prisoners have escaped. The warden searches every corner of the prison. When Morris, John, and Clarence are not found inside, he starts a search operation in the sea. The warden cannot believe they escaped. He wants to believe they drowned in the water, but deep inside, he knows the three men were strong and clever. The warden is under huge pressure. At that moment, he finds Doc's flower near the search area. This means Morris also took revenge for Doc. He left the flowers a final message to the warden. The search team reports that they searched everywhere but found no bodies. To save his job and reputation, the warden tells them to write the report the way he says. The report will say that the three prisoners tried to escape but drowned in the sea. After this escape, Frank Morris becomes famous around the world as the genius who broke out of Alcatraz. 1 year after this incident, Alcatraz prison is closed. And with this, the film based on a true story comes to an end.